What's up guys, thank you for watching Renovation School. I have a Craftsman DRM500 lawnmower here that I picked up used. They make these under so many different brands, MTD, Yardman, White, Cadet, they all have it, and most people call these Yard Bug. This is how it looks like. It looks like a ladybug or a beetle. I'm going to show you all the services that needs to be done on these, like carb cleaning, oil change, replacing gas lines, replacing or sharpening the blade. To begin with, I'm gonna use my air compressor and clean up all this area just so I can remove some of that dead grass and stuff from the engine component. Please note that I placed the cardboard under the lawnmower in case I have any gas or oil spills while servicing it, so the driveway doesn't get stained or damaged. Most of them are equipped with a 10 horsepower Briggs & Stratton engine, and they do a good job. I'm gonna show you how to do the carb cleanup as of this second. So there's two screws here that you need to loosen them up. You don't have to take them all the way out, just loosen them up. Just enough so you can remove the engine cover. So put the engine cover aside, and we have to remove the air filter first. There is a clamp. By using a flathead screwdriver, you can open up that screw and remove that air filter. Right after that, there's two nuts here that have to come off. You can use a 1/2 inch socket for it. They come loose. You can remove it just like so. So this part comes loose, and there's a hose. Make sure the air hose, make sure you disconnect this from there. And I'm gonna tuck this out of my way. Okay, so the next thing you need to do, there's two nuts, long nuts, basically screws that has a nut on the end of them. They have to come off now so you can remove the actual carburetor. They are 5/16. Break them loose. And then remove them. Hold on to the carburetor by one hand and remove the other screw. So at this point the carburetor is completely loose. So before I make any damage or anything to it, there's these wires. I think they're called governors. Slowly I'm going to remove these. You can take a picture before removing these actually, just so you know where exactly each one of these go. So I remove these two, and then I turn it so this last one come off as well. So as you can see, the guy who worked on it before, he didn't even tighten up this screw, and as I can see, this gasket was broken. It fell down there, but it was broken. It was in a bad shape. Hopefully I can find that screw that fell down. So this is how the carburetor looks like. It has been cleaned by the previous owner, but I'm pretty confident he didn't do such a good job. A lot of times this is completely nasty, covered by dust and dirt and stuff. So all you could do is you could get, before I remove this part, I'm gonna get a brush. You could even use a toothbrush if you want to. Get some brake cleaner, car brake cleaner. Spray it on nice, and then gently just scrub every little bit of it. Try to brush it off, remove all that dirt and nastiness from it. I place the pan under my hand. I'm gonna spray it. Make sure all those loose and dirty parts come right off. After you clean it, as I said, you can spray it a little bit, and then use your brush, clean it up nice and pretty. After that, you spray it again. Make sure every garbage and dirt is completely off. Then there's a screw on the bottom of this part.
It takes a 7/16 socket. Just remove it. It has a gasket and a washer. Make sure you don't lose those. So this is the most important part. For the most part, this is clean. As I said, it's been cleaned, but this gasket is completely gone. This is garbage. So this is the float. What you could do, there's a piece that comes off. You can actually push it through one side and push this holder piece right out. Make sure you don't lose it. So now the float is completely off. Very gently remove it. There's a needle underneath. Don't lose any of these. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna spray this whole entire area. Make sure there's no dirt in there. Any debris will make this not work properly. So I'm gonna start spraying in here and here. Then I can spray right in here as well. So for the most part, this is done. I'm gonna let it rest. This is how that needle is sitting here. This tab is supposed to be more toward the bottom. Spray this, make it all nice and clean. The actual needle is in a good shape. So what you're gonna do, there's a slot here and a groove right there. It's gonna slide right in there, just like so. After I do this, I'm gonna spray it one more time to make sure there's nothing on it. I'm gonna put it back in its place. It goes down just like that. And oh, gotta be careful, it's hard to do it while filming it. There you go. Just gently slide it back in where it was, and the pin goes right back in there. There you go. At this point, this carb is cleaned and ready to go, but that gasket needs to be replaced. The part number for it, place this on here. Make sure it's sitting nice and proper. Put the bowl back on. And the screw goes back on. There you have it. Make sure you tighten this up nice and proper. Back to the machine. This is where the carburetor goes. As you can see how dirty all this whole area is. These pipes are completely covered by grease and dirt and all kind of grime. Look down inside this pipe, there's some dirt. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna spray this whole entire area with brake cleaner. Make sure it's nice and clean, and it's a very good idea to disconnect the battery before you do any of this stuff. Just note one more time, I placed the cardboard underneath so I don't stain the driveway. I'm going to place this on it so it doesn't catch any of the debris. I don't want anything to fall down inside it. Same thing with this air intake. I'm gonna go spray it, make it all nice and clean before I put this back onto the carb. It is time to put everything back together. This, I don't know what you call this piece. It goes into here. Maybe on yours the adjustment is different. It might go to the second one, but for mine it was going this way. And I show you where exactly you can slide this part of the pin in. Right inside this area, there's a hole. I'm not too sure if you can see it in the video properly, but there's a hole, there's a slot in this area. This pin has to be sitting behind this pusher thing. So basically when this moves back and forward, it pushes this and it opens the throttle. There you go. I got that piece in. I'm gonna show you a close-up as soon as I'm done. I'm gonna place this on the right spot. Make sure it sits nice and properly. I'm gonna place these two longest screws in first. I'm gonna just get them to hold the carburetor in place. Same thing on the other side. There you go. Actually, one other thing I forgot. It's by far easier if you connect this to the carburetor while it's outside. Try to connect this first before you do that, before you put it in place. It's going to be slightly difficult if you do it after. So that's also connected nice and proper. This is still loose. I want to make sure it's sitting on the right spot before I tighten it completely. There you go. I tighten it up as much as I can by hand. It's sitting on a perfect spot. 5/16 socket. Tighten it back up. A little bit on this one, a little bit on that one. Note I'm not tightening up one side completely. I just go a little bit at a time on each one just to make sure it's sitting nice and proper at the gasket here. There you have it. Nice and snug. It's not going anywhere. Now it's time to put those other two things in. So as you can see, this has a hook at the very bottom. I am gonna just gently open it slightly, just so it slides easier into this part. There you go. And there's a tiny little spring that sits right in the next hole, just like that. I got those two in. It's time to put the filter thing back on. Past that air valve, connected. This air valve has to go right in here, but before it has to go down below this. Make sure there's no kink in this hose. Put it in place and then push the hose all the way in where it needs to go. And then the two nuts go back on top. You're going to need a 7/16 socket to tighten up both of these in place. Nice and perfect. Now it's time to put the air filter back on, but I'm gonna clean it with my air compressor. I'm gonna put this back to where it belongs. As you can see, there's zip ties on it. So I'm just gonna remove the zip ties and remove that clamp from the bottom. Now I'm gonna remove the hose carefully. My gas tank is 90% empty. If yours has gas in it, make sure you put something underneath to catch that gas, and then you can clean it up. Okay, it's time to clean up the gas tank. I'm gonna start by removing the cap. There's a slight amount of gas sitting in there. I'm gonna shake it, make sure everything comes right off. I am gonna spray it with the same brake cleaner. This step is very important because you don't want your carburetor to gum up and get dirtiness again inside it. So I'm gonna clean up this gas tank, make sure it's nice and clean, so I don't have to get back to this anytime soon. Now take a quick look in the inside. There's a slight amount of dirt. I'm gonna spray it. There's no more dirt left inside it. I'm gonna start spraying the edges and around it. I have it. I'm gonna try to make it as clean as I can. I hold it this way so I'm not taking any chances of dropping anything inside the tank. It's completely cleaned up. One more time. I'm gonna rinse it. I don't see anything inside, but I'm gonna spray a bit more. Nothing. Completely nice and clean. I put this aside so it evaporates and clean up itself. Time to work on the actual gasket. It's not that dirty. I'm just gonna use the brake cleaner. Let this does the job. Looks very nice. Super. I'm gonna close the lid so I'm not taking any chances of getting debris inside it. I'm gonna put it back onto the machine. This is a new fuel line that I purchased. This is a 1/4 inch inside diameter. I'm gonna replace it with this one. And I also got a shut-off valve for the bottom of this, so in winter time I can shut this off, remove this, or run the lawnmower until it empties up, so it's good for the storage. So this is the shut-off valve that I got. I got this off Canadian Tire because we live in Canada. If you're living somewhere else, you can get it from any auto or small engine repair kind of a place. Make sure the pipes are completely clean. I'm gonna start by putting a short piece in before I put the shutoff valve in. Gonna spare the old clamps. It's right there. This is the shutoff valve. This will be sitting like that, so I am gonna place it like so. There you go. There you have it. And there you go. Perfect. Sitting nice and proper. This is what I had, and that's the location of my fuel filter. I'm going pretty much almost the same length with my fuel filter. I got a fuel filter from Napa. These are very cheap, $3-4. They work amazing. There's an arrow on it. You need to make sure you put this the right way. So if this goes on this way, the gas will be coming here. It's going to get filtered and then go to the carburetor or to the engine. So you need to make sure it goes to the right way. I'm going to spare those old clamps. This looks pretty rough. That's the reason why I'm replacing it. And also, after putting that much effort into the cleaning that carb, I don't want to go through removal and cleaning again, at least sometime soon. It will eventually need cleaning, but I don't want to do it very quickly right after. Sometimes preventative maintenance will save you a lot of time. Anyway, let's get back to work. I'm gonna put that clamp in there. There you go. I actually pass it a little bit more like that. Keep close attention to the direction of that arrow. Goes in like so. I try to push it all the way in as far as you can and put that clamp on. There you go. And now we need another piece that goes to the engine. There you go. Okay, I'm not gonna cut this part yet. I'm gonna install this and cut it according to the length that I need. So let's go back to the lawnmower. We're back at the lawnmower. I'm just gonna place the hose somewhere along the way here. I'm gonna feed this through, put the gas tank back on. I had to remove the gas tank again because this thing wasn't gonna feed through. There you go. And I'm gonna move the clamp back up. Now there's 2 tabs, they have to sit in these 2 holes. I let them sit right there, and I got some new zip ties. There you go. It's time to cut this piece. So I think right around this area it's going to be perfect. Cut, make sure there's nothing stuck in there. Put that clamp on it. It's going to be slightly difficult to put this one in now. I'm going to use needle nose pliers to push it all the way in. So in order for the fuel to go through, you want this to sit lower than your tank. You don't want this to sit higher. You just want this gas to come down, go into the carburetor. To do the oil change, I cut a water bottle kind of in a shape like this, and I also cut the bottom portion just like this so I can place it underneath of this pipe. You're gonna need, I'm gonna bring the deck all the way down, place this under it. This thing that I just made, there's a cap, you just remove it, put this right underneath like that. This opens up counterclockwise, and then you pull back, it removes all the engine oil. While this oil is draining, I am going to remove that screw from there and remove the entire stick assembly. I'm going to put that screw back in place. Make sure you place something on here so no debris get inside while you're cleaning that. I'm going to spray it with the brake cleaner, followed by the brush. I'm going to remove all the debris from it. Back to the engine. The oil is completely drained. I'm just gonna carefully clean up around this thing, make sure there's no debris getting inside the engine. Carefully, I am gonna remove that screw again and place this where it has to go. Make sure it pops right in there. Once it sits there, I'm gonna place this screw back in there. And before I go any further, I'm gonna spray all that area as well with the brake cleaner. Perfect. So now I'm gonna put this back in, put the plug in there, turn this clockwise, make sure it's locked in place. So it's time to talk about the spark plug. How did I remove this back portion? There was 4 bolts, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 bolts that is holding this cap. They look like that. They're torque 40. So that's removed. Now it's time to get to the spark plug. That actually looks like a brand new spark plug, but I am going to change it anyway. So a 5/8 socket will fit right on it. These spark plugs are not expensive. They go for $4, $3–4. So if you're putting this much effort, make sure you replace it as well. It's in a very, very good shape. I think he put the wrong kind in. Looks pretty good, but it's the wrong kind. He put the wrong spark plug in there. This is the right one. Before I put it in, I'm gonna put a little bit of anti-seize on the thread, a little bit. Make sure you don't get too much. Actually wipe it off a little bit so it doesn't get too close to the plug. This one takes a 13/16 socket, the right piece. I have some of this electrical contact cleaner. I'm gonna clean it with that. Gonna let it sit. It's gonna remove all that corrosion, nastiness and dust and dirt. I'm also gonna spray this area where the coil is to remove all that dirt and nastiness from it. This stuff will evaporate in 1 minute, not even. It's already clean. I'm gonna make sure it goes all the way in. Turn it. Try to keep it in a way that this doesn't have any contact with the engine. You don't want this to heat up. I'm gonna put this back in. Sitting in the right spot. Now it's time to put the bolts back in. Now, as you can see, the tires are going outward for some reason. They need some tie rod adjustment. I'm going to take care of that. So there's one bolt right there. I'm going to take this off and adjust this until they're parallel and nice. So I tilted the lawnmower on its side. Keep in mind there is no oil and gas in it right now because I'm servicing the entire thing. I just want to open up this blade and sharpen it up before I do anything else, before I put the oil and gas in there. Replace the blade, or you can sharpen it if you want to. The way I do it, basically, I put something in here just to prevent the blade from turning. I'm using a 15/16 socket and a long ratchet or bar. Put it in place, break it loose. This might be stubborn, but this is the way to do it. Just a long, strong bar will break it loose. Look how nice and easy it came right off. Move it back. Careful, this could be sharp. Make sure you sharpen up your blade at least once a year in the springtime when you're doing it, and also take a picture of this before you actually remove it. Make sure you put it back the same orientation. This dent part has to go toward the inside of the lawnmower. There's a star shape here. There you have it. It came right off. Now this blade is extremely dull. If it's dull like that, it's gonna kinda not cut properly. So I am going to show you how to sharpen this up, but at the same time, before I do that, I'm going to remove all this dirt and debris from here. I'm going to grab a screwdriver. Okay, so this is how I sharpen it up. I have the lawnmower blade sitting inside the vise, and then I have a flat stone on a wheel grinder that runs by air. You could use a regular drill or an actual grinder. So this is what I do basically. I'm gonna grind all this area first. As you can see, it's extremely dull. There's a lot of dings in it. I'm gonna straighten it up first and then grind it down this way so I can give that shape. Before I go any further, I'm gonna start wire brushing the whole deck. So it's time to put the engine oil in. I use 10W30 all the time. Time to put this back on, the cover. Put the gas in it. Make sure you use unleaded gas, which is the highest quality one. Do not use cheap gas. Make sure at the gas station you buy the most expensive type, the absolute best one. You want this machine to run the best. Plus they don't use too much gas anyway. I'm gonna use some oil and pretty much oil up all these moving parts. Make sure you don't get any oil on the belt. All those areas that move a lot, I'm going to put a little bit of oil in it. Right onto that cable a little bit.
So it's time to add some air to the tires. I'm putting about 40 psi air in the back tires and about 30 psi in the front tires. So my battery's dead. In order to start it, I'm using a cable, and this is how I connected it, red to red, black to black. There's a sensor underneath of the seat on the lawnmower. If that sensor is connected, it's not going to turn on. This is how I bypassed it. So when you're connecting the booster cable, you have to make sure that the two sides on the ground are not touching. Now, in order to start it, this gear has to be on neutral. The throttle has to sit on the choke all the way up. This bottom part is the brake. You have to push it all the way down and pull this lever all the way up so it stays in place. If your seat sensor is not bypassed, you cannot start it unless you sit on it. So after connecting the cables to the car, turn on the vehicle and it's time to start the engine on the lawnmower. After it starts, you can adjust the throttle. Now carefully remove the battery booster, make sure the two ends are not touching or it's going to spark and damage your vehicle. Put them on the ground safe and apart from each other, then remove it from your vehicle and put it away. It's time to go for a ride and see how it works. That stain on the ground is just water that was caught on the seat. There's a small little rip on it and it caught the rainwater in it. The lawnmower is fixed and it's doing an amazing job. My goal on this channel is to be a resource for all the DIYers and homeowners to improve the look of their house. So if you are into that sort of a thing, please do not forget to subscribe and hit the like button and also turn on that notification bell. Thanks for watching my videos.
There you go. Please like our channel.